Greetings and welcome to the Rock and Roll podcast. Check out this record. My name is Marc, and with us as always is a man who cares quite a bit about his good reputation. It's Frankie D.
That's right, Marc. You got to protect your rep.
Welcome back to the show, friends. Remember, you can check out this record on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or wherever you find the finest of podcasts. Golly heck, Frank, we're even on the tube of you.
That's right, Marc. New episodes drip to the drop directly to your ears every Friday. And of course, this is all for your listening pleasure.
Absolutely, it is. Here on Check Out This Record, Frank and I, we treat every record like a Fudgy the Whale cake.
Or Cookie Puss. Or come St. Patrick's Day, Cookie O Puss.
That's right. We give each a solid once over where we treat that biatch up. We tear that biatch up. Of course, we also indulge in a wide array of musical discussions, like in our Spotlight series, where we'll dig into a band's catalog, like a couple of grave robbers, and see what's buried inside there. A pioneer in women's rock, or a pile of black-hearted record execs laughing at us from beyond the grave.
That's right. Or in our verse series, we pit two albums against each other, and they duke it out for total stereo domination.
Ooh. Now, if social media is your thing, and we know it is, be sure to check us out on Instagram. And we even have, check this out, a Facebook group where we like to drop additional content. That'd be more than what you find on the regular show, leaving you laughing at what I thought the lyrics to love is a battlefield were. I forgot to adjust that line of the script.
Or Dirty Deeds and the Done Dirt Cheap. Anyway, So don't forget to pop over the famous YouTube the Tube, where we watch us make silly faces as we try to figure out how to put this whole thing together. And who knows, someday when we have time, there'll be some exclusive content coming. You don't want to miss this. So be sure to fire off a click and hit that old subscribe button.
Oh, yeah. Now, Frank, today's episode is a spotlight on the year 1981 for one Joan Jett and her band, the Blackhearts. Now, loosely 1981 and loosely Joan Jett and the Blackhearts, because we're going to be discussing Joan Jett's entire career, but we're going to really focus on the late 70s, early 80s, and then we'll kind of roll on from there. But nothing came easy to Joan Jett or the Blackhearts, Frank, but that's what makes for a cool story, right? I mean, kind of, sort of. We'll get there. Are you ready for some capital R rock, capital N, capital R roll, Franco?
Yeah, we are, buddy. ROCK and the USA, my man.
That's right. All right. So let's start with the cliche stuff people want. Frank.
Sure.
Stats. Joan Jett, born Joan Marie Larkin, September 22nd, 1958, just outside of Philadelphia, PA.
Cheesesteaks.
She got her first guitar at 13 and began to take lessons, but quit when her instructor kept trying to teach her folk songs, Frank. Her family would soon move to Los Angeles, California, only for her parents to divorce shortly after the move. I'm not sure how much of that word came out of my mouth. Bummer, right? With the divorce, her parents, Joan took the opportunity to change her last name to Jett, which she thought would help with her rock star aspirations. There is a funny little factoid here, Frank. It turns out she would tell people that Jett was her mother's maiden name to justify the switch. Now, I never would have assumed that her mother's maiden, or that her real name was really Joan Jett, or that her mother's maiden name was Jett.
Right.
In fact, I was kind of surprised to find out her first name was Joan. Forget the Jett part. Frank, what do you think of the stage name? We never did this, but what would you use as like a faux stage name if you became, Frankie Sharpdress or something? What would your stage name be?
Yeah, I mean, I'm cool with first of all, Joan Jett as the stage name when I was younger, of course, I legit thought it was actually her birth name.
Sure.
But think of all the stage names, right? Axl Rose, Alice Cooper, Gene Simmons, Steven Tyler, your favorite, John Bon Jovi, and ones we actually give a shit about, like Joe Strummer and the Ramones, right? So a lot of stage names out there. I'm not sure mine would be. Like, I always go back to like Frankie D, but that's kind of like my name, right? So I don't know if that's actually a stage name, but I would think it would be along the lines of Frankie D.
Okay. I mean, Frankie D is definitely your name. So,
yeah.
I mean, you've got like 9 of them and they all equal that. So,
right. Absolutely.
So before we get too far into this, we need to address the Runaways, which honestly could have been its own spotlight entirely. And maybe one day it will be.
That's true.
But before we get to Frank's obsessions, Frank, would you give us, as the resident Runaways head, could you give us a brief background on the group?
That's because I communicated with Sheree Curry. That's why you're saying that, right?
I am. Yes.
So, all right, sure, dude. This was a badass group. I mean, obviously you have Joan Jett, but you have Sheree Curry, email friend of mine, Lita Ford, and of course there's other members, but those were like obviously the main ones. In short, they were formed in 1975 by drummer Sandy West and Joan Jett. The driving force behind them was producer Kim Fowley. He was more than likely also, he contributed to their demise with the members, of course, in conjunction with the members' wild partying habits and doing all sorts of stuff that Mark, me and you could only dream of, right? Yeah, the band actually toured though with such bands as Cheap Trick, Van Halen, Talking Heads, and even Tom Petty. So I mean, yeah, exactly. They had 2 records with Sheree Curry on vocals, and I tell you what, they really embraced a hard rock, almost metal sound. They became big in Japan. Now Sheree Curry leaves, and Jett takes over on lead vocals, and that band turns the corner really to a more pop punk sound, which guess who? Lita Ford was not thrilled about, right? Their later albums definitely fall flat with Jett on vocals, not Jeff like in the script, but Jett on vocals. In fact, their last record, entitled "And Now," the Runaways has a Beatles cover, and of all songs, they picked the worst Beatles single, 8 Days a Week. Mind blowing. There's so many Beatles songs you could have chosen 8 days a week. I can't even find a clip of the Beatles playing that. So, I mean, it's crazy. Eventually, the band would dissipate like a tornado due to excess of everything, poor management, disagreement between band members, and of course, the old scuttle, pal. Money.
The finger thing means the money, right?
That's what they say.
Yeah, that's what they say. So the Runaways played their final show New Year's Eve 1978 and called it quits officially in April of 79. Jett would move on to work with producer Kenny Laguna, who she met with working on a Runaways film project she was still obligated to do after the band broke up. But the film would be scrapped about halfway through production, and the two became great friends. Jett would then move to New York with Kenny Laguna. And while she was able to release her first solo album, the self-titled Joan Jett, in the UK in 1980 on, I believe this is Areola Records, like the nipple, like the part of the nipple. However, in the US, the album was rejected by, Frank, 23 major record labels. And the pair decided to start their own label, Blackheart Records.
Sounds good to me.
Which they found the startup money for in Laguna's daughter's college fund.
Oh, gosh.
Laguna has been quoted as saying, "We couldn't think of anything to do but print up some records ourselves." Frank, how good of an artist would you need to offer up one of your daughter's college funds to cover the cost of printing a record?
I mean, what a risk. I mean, like, listen, the Greek in me would totally prevent anything like this from ever happening, ever, unless you were like the next Dylan. But even then, half of me is like, yeah, it's not going to work. But
all right, fair enough. Frank, Kenny Laguna had an old pal named Neil Bogart, who found the founder of Casablanca Records and subsequently Boardwalk Records, to which he signed Joan Jett and the Blackhearts on January 23rd, 1981. He re-released her self-titled album as Bad Reputation. So that's why we have both of these records coming out in the same year, because in the US, they were both released in 81.
That's our answer.
Despite the 80 release in the UK as just Joan Jett and her self-titled album, Joan Jett. This is Joan Jett and the Blackhearts Bad Reputation. So
Got it.
There. So let's jump into this first album of our Spotlight feature here and talk about 1981's Bad Reputation. 12 tracks, clocking in just under 39 minutes. While Jett sang and played on all of the tracks, she's only credited with writing 5 out of the 12 songs herself, Frank. Not unsurprising for the time, really, but certainly a bold choice. Now, Jett and Laguna seem to channel a love for 50s and 60s rock and roll with a heavy dose of glam and early punk rock. Which both were heavily influenced by. The choice to do 2 Gary Glitter songs well before his child pornography scandal probably seemed like a solid idea at the time. But with 5 covers here, including the Isley Brothers' Shout. You Don't Own... That's right. You Don't Own Me, originally made famous by 17-year-old Leslie Gore in 1963, written by John Madeira and David White, along with one of my personal favorite rock tunes of all time, Sam Sham and the Pharaohs' 1964 classic, Wooly Bully. That's right. Normally, I like to start these by addressing the first track off the bat, especially when it's the new title track. But with all these covers, let me ask you this. Does this feel like a proper first solo album to you?
No, it doesn't at all. This doesn't have the feel of a debut record, which is a showcase of what an artist can do. Today, I could easily see this just being like the original tunes, and then someone being like, "Hey, this is my first EP, and I'm going to ride this out for a while until like we do the first proper LP." It's too loaded with covers, which begs the question: why wouldn't they wait for more songs to be written? Like, why did they feel that? And second question: why do they feel that these covers were essential to making this record work? That's something I would really like to know.
Yeah, so I can answer both of those questions, Frank. I have no fucking clue.
Okay.
Because neither one of them makes any sense to me. It really is a weird choice here.
So it's rushed. It makes it all be rushed.
And it's odd when you consider they had all this time to themselves. Right. It's so odd. And so let's talk about the song Bad Reputation, which only got a music video after the success, excuse me, of the next album, I Love Rock and Roll,
of course,
but has been a signature piece of the band's repertoire since both the albums released, Frank. What are your thoughts on this Blackheart classic, Bad Reputation?
Yeah, I mean, it's a classic song, and you can't go wrong with it. It's got the hint of the Ramones' early rock and roll attitude, a hooky catchiness to this. Lots of energy that's really infectious. You can listen to this and actually be in a bad mood. So Bad Reputation, the song, doesn't equate to someone being in a bad mood. So the song definitely holds up. It kicks ass. My girls like it.
Excellent. Now, I started with Bad Reputation because it was the title track, right?
Sure.
It was track 1.
Makes
we
sense.
needed to address it. But Joan Jett has 4 more writing credits on the album. You Don't Know What You've Got, Let Me Go, Jezebel, and Don't Abuse Me. We get some slower moments and a good dose of that Gary Glitter sound rubbing off.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, probably not my best choice of phrase. I'm sorry. Especially on that song, Jezebel. But these songs feel a bit flat, as it doesn't sound like the gang of musicians playing on this album before were actually the Blackhearts. They never quite formed and came together to give these original songs quite as vibrant of a life as they did with Bad Reputation. I think they knew they had a hit with Bad Reputation, and unfortunately they picked a bunch of covers and some really bad songs that Joan Jett wrote on her own to go with this thing. It was it's a tough one. Yeah. So just leaving Make Believe and Too Bad on Your Birthday out of this album would have been a good start. I hate to sound mean because I do like Bad Reputation, the song, and a handful of the covers here. Outside of those, it's not hard to understand why this album got passed by so many labels. It's clear that Jett and Laguna had a vision of what the band was, but without the Blackhearts being a true band and just stuffing session musicians together to put this thing together, it lacked a ton of soul and emotion that a real band would have put together for this. Frank, what are your thoughts so far on the debut / sophomore album from Joan Jett?
Yeah. This seems more like a quick gathering of scraps outside of a bad reputation, just to make, I think, old fans of the Runways, to make sure that they didn't forget about Jett and expose new fans to Jett. To me, that's why I feel it's rushed. After the Runaways, there was some pressure, I think, to ensure that Jett was a success, whether it be by her or her team. The whole creation behind it, like the team along with Jett, they seemed to have a specific intent, and that intent was not to give us an original album with 10 to 12, debut album with 10 to 12 original tracks. So that wasn't the intent at all. The other original tunes, they don't go anywhere. In fact, they slow down the album, and it takes away the edge that bad reputation established on the first track, because now it's deceiving. So you listen to this record, bad reputation, very forceful, edgy. Yeah, that's not the rest of the record. So you stated it perfectly with the flat sounding nature. And there's a stock quality to them with a lot of 1-3-5 chorus chord structure, which gives them all this kind of similar sound. It's challenging when I look at this album. I look at these songs as really it's kind of, and I don't even consider the covers album or the covers as part of the album because there's just so many. So for me, like, I don't think this album plays like an actual album.
Yeah, let's take this opportunity to chat about the Blackhearts themselves, as this is where the Blackhearts become the Blackhearts. The band has gone through lots of changes. Something to the effect of 9 different bass players, 3 lead guitarists, 4 if you count Joan Jett, for there were some albums where she's credited as on lead guitar, and at least 3 drummers. While there have been many longtime members like Tommy Price, who played the drums for the Blackhearts for the better part of 20 years, and Doug Needles, who's been on guitar for a bit longer than that. However, the idea behind the Blackhearts has always been pretty straightforward: a backing band that hits as hard as Joan's dynamic voice performance.
Sure.
I said that specifically because I've read her lyrics. A real band, a rocking band, so loaded with the backing band in place, it was time for a follow-up record, and it was spring of 1981. They went into the studio to record I Love Rock and Roll, to date Joan Jett's most commercially successful album, having sold 10 million copies worldwide.
Oh, that's massive.
Largely off the back of the lead single Tighter Track and another cover, the iconic I Love Rock and Roll. 10 tracks, clocking in just over 30 minutes. Released November 18th, 1981, including 3 more covers, bits and pieces from the Dave Clark 5, which doesn't fit particularly well with this album, but that wasn't my choice, so whatever. Crimson and Clover by Tommy James and the Shondells, which fucking rules. Really blurring that glam rock line with this fuzzy take on the classic tune, works perfectly with her raspy goodness of Joan Jett's voice. And probably my least favorite track here, the cover of the Christmas classic Little Drummer Boy. I'm not a Christmas dude, and I don't understand why this song is on here, but to each their own. But this certainly is not a cover for me. You got any comments on the covers, Frank?
All right. So from a non-Christmas dude such as yourself to an actual Christmas dude like me, I've never liked the song. So I've never liked this one. The melody, the barumpa bum bum, always annoyed me as a kid.
I love a good barumpa bum bum.
See, there you go. So it doesn't help the cause. If you're gonna pick a holiday tune, I mean, my gosh, just pick something else. Just not the Little Drummer.
Why a holiday tune? Why?
Yeah. Well, why not just then do a holiday album and next year at in the holiday season of 1982. I don't know why this is on here. I guess that's, at the end of the day, has no business being on here at all. So the rest of the covers, well, what can you say about them? Listen, I Love Rock and Roll is a great tune, and the original by the Arrows also rocks. So I mean, that's just a good song. So Jett's version is the one that everyone knows. So that says something about the heart of the Blackhearts, the heart of the recording, and of course the overall performance by Joan Jett and the Blackhearts. Bits and pieces doesn't fit, and it disrupts the whole flow of the record. If you ask me, that's where it takes a turn. I would really like to be again a particle on the wall, just to witness the logic behind the covers being discussed by the band and the management. Because at this point, it's like, all right, covers are a staple here. Why these covers?
Right.
Crimson and Clover, though, I was very familiar with prior to hearing or being more familiar with than the Jett version. I just think. I think as with I Love Rock and Roll, the band and Jett, they just deliver here. It's got the edge, nice and loud sound. And I really think it encompasses like the sound that Jett wanted in her mind. So I think those two tunes in particular really are the epitome of what she was going for.
Yeah. Now, Frank, we're only 2 years out from the breakup of the Runaways. And we're, I'm Gonna Run Away, which paints the picture of a young woman moving on with her life after people have changed. Probably one of my favorite songs written by Jett. Didn't end up as a hit. Frank, what were your thoughts of I'm Gonna Run Away?
Yeah, so the breakup of the band, I'm sure, had a lifelong impact on Jett, and I think this song was trying to capture that sentiment. They were just kids. That's what they were, right? And they had everything thrown at them at an extremely fast velocity, and I'm not sure if they were prepared and or ready for that. Jett and Curry had a well-known, not only emotional relationship, but a physical bond to their relationship as well. And Ford and Jett had creative tension musically, and some might be able to see why. Cherie and Jett would even have their own tension too. So I like that this song is an expression of all that went down, because that was a vital part in Jett's life at the time.
Yeah, and it's for me, I think it's the first sign of her being a strong songwriter without relying on somebody else to write the song for her.
Right.
Because we haven't seen, other than Bad Reputation, this is like the best original song by Joan Jett herself.
Right. And how do you practice that? Is by writing more songs. But anyway.
Correct. Up next on the album is Love is Pain, Ain't That the Truth, which I think it's a cool, stripped down and raw sounding track that plays up to the band's kind of 50s and 60s roots rock strengths. It helps paint Jett's image of a tough rocker babe who doesn't take shit because she's learned from her pain, theoretically, or something like that. But we get nag, right? The word nag, which we really lean heavy on in that 50s pop sound repetition. The phrase nag over and over again, flipping the dynamic of who calls who a nag. However, there is something kind of corny about the way it's delivered, and it doesn't land quite as hard hitting as I think it was meant to, right? This idea that she's going to take the power back by calling herself a nag. I don't know, which is a bummer because the music is fun, but the lyrics make it a song I just don't want to listen to, if I'm being honest with you. Frank, what do you think about these two kind of retro tunes from 81?
Yeah, I think Love and Pain is one of her better tunes overall. It takes the simple elements of the 50s and the 60s rock, pre-hippie 60s, and Jett adds what she really again desires in the sound. Nice fuzzy guitars, wants to create a song that you could sing along with. So I think that whole recipe came together quite well. Nag sounds like they wanted to amp up the Beach Boys, but the Ramones were doing that better at that time. So that's a tough act, The nag in the background just starts getting annoying to me. And
nag.
It sounds like a jingle or like a commercial you would hear on TV at the time. Like it really grates the ears. So the good that Love is Pain brought us gets negated by the song with the ironic name of Nag.
Ironically, as I was looking up doing the research on this, right? And I was noticing how few songs she wrote. And there are a few songs not written by Joan Jett that aren't covers, right? She paid songwriters as every, just about every artist in the recording industry does, pays other people to write songs for them and they play them. But it was funny to me. I noticed, certainly with the first album and on here, there's a few tracks that were written by guys who primarily write commercials. And
jeez. Okay, that is crazy. Yeah. Wow.
Awesome. Yeah. So Crimson and Clover comes up next on the album. I'm sure this cover brought the band tons of exposure throughout the years. But since we've covered the covers, let's talk about Victim of Circumstance. At track 6, we get a bold reminder that this song was written and recorded in the 80s with this chorus and a reference back to her own previous song, Bad Reputation. But at least she wrote this rocker herself. It's a fun track and shows the band's growth and fun energy. Frank, what did you think of Victim of Circumstance?
Yeah, I kind of wanted more of this and less reliance on the covers. And I actually think it could have fit more on the actual Bad Reputation album, as that was the theme. So we get to then kind of explore it more. It's a fun tune. And I wish the sharpness of this was expanded in other songs as opposed to really just going flat, which is what we get with the other tunes. So it was a kind of shame that this wasn't expanded on more.
Yeah, I agree with you on that completely. So we're kind of at the close of the album, right? The album closes with three songs, Be Straight, You're Too Possessive, and of course, Little Drummer Boy. Be Straight is another stripped down number. This time the song revolves around Joan, about telling Joan the truth. Just be straight about it. It's all right. Just be straight. In reference, of course, to being honest, and in no way a reference to anyone's or telling anyone what their sexual preference should be.
Right.
I'm pretty sure Joan Jett would be like the first person to say that. You're Too Possessive. I like this song, but I don't know why she sings with a British accent for like half the song. It's like weird. Just the choruses or just the verse. It's fucking weird. Focusing on independence and not taking anyone's BS. This is a straightforward rock number. I can see this being, a Riot Girl anthem, if you will, Frank.
Right.
But it doesn't do a ton for me. I don't know. I'm not skipping it. I'm just not totally thrilled with it. Right. Frank, I've already talked about Little Drummer Boy as much as I would really care to. Yeah. What did you think of the three songs closing out the album?
Yeah, and I'll be more happy again just to reiterate how I really don't care for the Little Drummer Boy and how it doesn't belong on a rock and roll album. So if tomorrow, Marc, just expand on that again. If I'm making a Christmas album, that song is not even on the scope. It's not even in the top 20. So I'm not even touching Little Drummer Boy at all. All right, especially as a closer. Anyway, Be Straight has some similar vibes to Iggy's 1969, and another song, For the Life of Me, I cannot recall. And I never really liked 1969, to be honest with you. So, like you, I like that you're too possessive, but the accent's confusing. I mean, we're in 1981, and in the punk world, the Pistols were already done. So maybe this is Jett trying to emulate the Clash or the Buzzcocks. I don't know. I'm really just throwing a bunch of nice spaghetti on the wall here. I would like this song if it wasn't for the accents.
Fair enough. Now, there's a ton more to Joan Jett's career, including 9 more studio albums for the Blackheart, thousands and thousands of concerts, and being inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Jett is coined as, quote, the godmother of punk rock, and is often cited as an influence by armies of rockers, both male and female, as an icon of the times.
Sure.
Frank, I'm a fan of Joan Jett and the Blackhearts, despite the fact that these 2 individual albums were far less than stellar. As a whole, her career is pretty well-rounded and makes for fun listening, especially if you like a good cover or if you just want a lot of covers. Right. Frank, what are your thoughts?
So tons of respect, of course, for Jett and the Blackhawk. I was gonna say Blackhawks. Wow. Tons of respect for Jett and the Blackhearts and her career. She transcends influence to so many, male or female, it doesn't matter, and into many corners of rock and roll. These records, they definitely have fun moments, but to me, it's not a satisfying listening experience due to the fact that they feel like, again, they were just pieced together, scrapped together with odd covers, major singles, some fun songs, but mostly flat tunes. Listen, due to the likability, her extreme passion, and her ability to rock out, it's hard to say anything less than positive about Jett. Like Dave Grohl, Marc, as we were talking about the other day, they're cool peeps, right? But not everything they create musically is amazing. And I think that's okay for us to address that and not have that be an indictment on their career. I think it's just okay to state. The Runaways are an example of, they could have been a serious contender for a hard rock metal band. And one could argue, actually, Jett maybe steered that ship the other way. I'm just saying, with these 2 records, you get the best of what this band has to offer, but you also get the most flat-natured tunes that they have to offer. It's a fun listen. The hits are still fantastic. The hits hold up, but the whole album and listening to these two, it's just not for me.
Yeah, I'm with you on this one, Frank. I think you made an excellent point earlier, right? I feel like there was a little bit too much interest and intent on carrying over her success with the Runaways
right
into her solo career instead of focusing on putting solid albums together and creating a much more solid foundation for her career to grow on, which is too bad because I think really when you give her the tools she needs, she's a fantastic rock and roll star.
I agree.
So with that said, my friend, it's game time. Are you ready?
Game time.
Now, I've said before, a lot of people have come up with many, many names for Joan Jett, but some people refer to her as the godmother of punk rock, right? Which is probably Patti Smith's title. I don't care for her very much, but that's a whole other conversation. But Frank, I thought with that said, we'd play the nickname game.
Let's do it, man. Let's do it.
Okay, I'm gonna give you 2 examples.
Okay.
So that you understand how the game works, and then I've got 10 questions for you. Okay.
Okay.
So the first question. Now, if you can't answer based on the clue,
which will be more than them, but go ahead.
Right. I'll give you a major hit they have. All you got to do is name the artist.
Oh.
But if I give you the clue, you don't get a point for it.
Oh.
All right.
Oh.
Name this American rock frontman known as the Lizard King.
So I'm naming who they are, not exactly who.
Right. Name who this person is. American rock frontman known as the Lizard King.
Wait, hold on. Wasn't that hello? Shoot, what's his name? My mom has a big crush on it. Jim Morrison.
That's correct. So if you hadn't been able to guess Jim Morrison, I would have told you Light My Fire.
There you go. Now I got it. Okay.
Right,
so I get a point for that though, right?
Yeah, you would have gotten a point for that. So here's the other practice one.
Oh, I would have gotten a point for that. I see where.
Well, I mean, I'll give you practice points. You want practice points? I'll give you practice points. Okay.
Go right ahead.
1 practice point. The second practice question, right? This American trumpeter is known as the King of Jazz.
Oh, Louis Armstrong.
Correct.
Yes.
2 points for Frank.
Yes.
Most excellent. All right, you ready to get in the actual game? You've got 2 bonus points already. This American singer and former Mickey Mouse Club member is called both the Princess of Pop and the voice of a generation.
Princess of Pop?
Princess of Pop and voice of a generation. This is tricky because there's a couple people who will share all of these names.
Yeah, I was okay. Because I'm not gonna lie, the first name that comes up is Britney Spears.
Ooh, that is not correct. Would you care for another guess or the clue?
I would take the clue.
Genie in a Bottle.
Oh, Christina Aguilera.
Correct.
I mean, I was kind of right with, kind of in that same. Man, okay, I'm bummed now.
It's all right. They're only going to get harder. This 90s rock star was known as the king of anti-pop.
The king of anti-pop. Why did I want to say anti-flag?
Not anti-flag.
Not close, right? The king of anti-pop. Can I get the next clue?
The next clue, I'm not going to tell you the name of their biggest hit because that's just too much. I'll give you a clue that you and I would know. You would refer to this person as the killer of hair metal.
The killer of hair metal?
Yeah.
Oh, Kurt Cobain.
Correct.
Yeah, duh. Okay. All right.
You didn't get a point because I gave you the easy answer.
I don't get half a point on this.
This former member of the Runaways would go on to be known as the queen of heavy metal.
Lita Ford.
Very nice. Bonus points.
Bonus.
Lita Ford's #1 biggest hit was a duet with Ozzy Osbourne.
Yep.
Can you name the hit?
When I close my eyes forever.
Correct.
Yep.
It's a double point for you, buddy.
Guess who had a crush on Lita Ford as a kid? Wouldn't be this guy.
No?
Oh, no, it was.
Oh, it was. Oh, I was going to say, I don't know who else you could be referring to then.
Hello.
All right. known as both the Prince of Soul and the Prince of Motown. This former singer was executed by a gunshot to the chest by his own father.
Yeah, Marvin Gaye. Yeah.
That is correct, Marvin Gaye.
Yeah, by his own father. Think about that for a second, folks. That's crazy stuff.
This legendary piano playing rocker was known as the Killer.
Jerry Lee Lewis.
That's correct.
Yeah.
See, you're doing great, buddy. Don't worry about it.
He's an interesting guy, man. What can I tell you?
Chairman of the board.
Chairman of the board. Chairman of the board.
Oh, come on. You got this.
Oh, man.
He's the chairman of the board.
I know. Oh.
It's magic. No, that's you just kept saying and I just it's magic.
But that's
nothing to do with the answer. No. Come on, you know this.
I do. Hold on. Let me think. It's a guy from Michigan. I know the Motown, right?
You're getting there. You're getting there. Chairman of the board. It's Frank Sinatra.
What?
It's Frank Sinatra, commonly referred to as chairman of the board.
Oh shit! I thought that had to do with Motown and
no, that's why I put that there to trick you.
Well, you did.
Okay, it's gonna get pretty crazy from here, Frank. Are you ready? I need you to name 2 out of these 3 bands. Okay. Name as many of these bands that the world would know as the unholy trinity of British hard rock and heavy metal.
Wait, unholy
trinity
of
British hard rock and heavy metal.
Sabbath. Deep Purple.
Oh, it's 2 out of 3. Can you get the third one?
Zeppelin.
Yes. Good job, buddy. Good job. I'm going to give you 3 points for that one. You got all 3.
Damn, better.
you only had to get 10 points and you're already up to like a bunch.
Oh.
All right. Question number 8. You ready?
Oh, yes, sir.
These 3 50s rockers shared the same fate and are known collectively as the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost.
Father, Son, and they shared the
same fate collectively.
So obviously they're dead.
Correct.
Obviously.
Buddy
Holly. Is he one? Richie Valens. And the Big Bopper.
And the Big Bopper. That's right.
So
you're doing great on this.
Thanks, man.
Name this family group known both as Britain's first family of harmony and disco kings.
Oh God, disco. Oh, Britain's. The Bee Gees.
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. The most important question on here, Frank. Are you ready?
Yes.
Formed in 1976, this band would be referred to as the only band that matters.
No, The Clash.
That's right.
See?
Bing, 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 bing.
Bing, bang, boom, bing, bang.
So, Frank, out of 12 possible points,
excuse
me, out of 10 possible points, you got 12.
Yes.
Congratulations, buddy. We threw in some extra points. We did some math. We made some things work. You're a big winner.
I am. Yeah. I'm a winner. That's my affirmation. I'm a winner.
He's a winner, folks.
You're not a loser.
That means you get a chicken dinner, I believe.
Oh, winner, chicken dinner.
That's right. Well, maybe you got to win again.
Yeah.
Because winner, right? That would suggest you got to win twice.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
You want to know what's next week, Mark?
I would love to know what's next week.
So I'm not gonna give you choices because I totally just put that aside because this band came up just on my recent listens, and it moved on top of the list because I was like, I need to know what Marc thinks about it. So it's one of those things where I'm like, I need to know what Marc thinks about it.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, we have an emergency broadcast coming your way.
That's right. Breaking, right?
I've just been handed this letter at the news desk.
That's all, folks.
Oh, no.
All right. So Marc, we're going back. We're going to the 90s. Some post-hardcore for you. From a band that was around from 90 to 95. Okay. And I kind of always search for these bands that sonically sound like Fugazi, right? I brought Jawbox to the table and kind of just always trying to find the sound. Now, this band would spawn other bands from the members, but we're going to talk about the 1994 release called Yank Crime, YANK Crime, by the band Drive Like Jehu. That's Drive Like JEHU. Drive Like Jehu.
Drive Like Jehu.
Yeah. So
Yank Crime.
It's the only one that's actually on Spotify, and they have a self-titled that was released in 91, but that's not available for streaming.
Where are these guys from?
Now, these guys are from, and they'll kind of make sense with the other bands they eventually formed, which I'll tell you about. So they're from San Diego.
Oh, that means a whale's vagina.
That's what of course it does.
Of course it does.
So they're around 90, 95. Now, one of the members, John Rez, would go on to form Rocket from the Crypt.
Oh, cool.
So, and the singer, Rick Froberg, would be in other bands, but then him and John would eventually convene and form the band Hot Snakes, which we've talked about, I know, a couple times before. Yeah. So kind of sonically a little bit like that. These songs are unlike Hot Snakes, where Hot Snake songs are shorter. These are a little bit longer, right? So we're getting into some longer tracks here. You're going to get some post-hardcore. You're going to get into some noise rock. You're going to get into some math elements. And of course, the term, because this is now early in 90, is thrown around, is that they were, they paved the way for some emo stuff, but it's kind of like Rites of Spring, where it doesn't sound like emo at all. And they just wanted to throw it at them. But, big cult following. We like kind of albums like that maybe not a lot may know. And I want your thoughts on that. No diggity, no doubt, buddy. I am looking forward to this. We're going to jump in there and find out, at 90 to 95, right? So they were a band for 5 years. Yeah. That's longer than the Confederacy. This band means more to America than the Confederacy. Absolutely. Yeah. And as we're uncovering this, and it has this big cult following, it should be a treasure, right? It should be. Oh, heck yes. Yes. So just so you know, too, the Spotify version. So there's 9. The first 9 tracks are the proper album. There's 3 bonus tracks on Spotify too. So yeah, I'll fit them into the script somehow. So cool. Yeah, man. So I'm excited for you to listen to that. Excited, of course, as always, for your opinion. Yeah. So thanks for listening, everyone. We appreciate your time. Please remember, like, subscribe, rate, review, and more importantly, be safe out there. Man, that was a fun one, wasn't it? It sure was, pal. Thanks for listening, friends. Frank and I, we could do this without. In fact, we do this without you, but we do it for you. We do as much as we do it for us. So, doing all the way. Now, won't you join me as we close the show? Say it with me, meow. Oh my. Oh, hell yes. Oh, bye-bye. What are you kids doing out there? Quit making so much noise. You're making such a racket with your rock and roll music. Oh,